expect Bhai Sukha Singh. Well, they've got me instead, so my apologies if that's the case. You might be wondering, is this guy actually going to start a Saki? I will do at some point, because the Saki that I have is very short, so I have to kind of work around it. Like I've got 30 minutes, so I have to make sure that I spend most of that time just talking about things that have nothing to do with the Saki, but I will eventually get to it. Um, just something in my background. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just in case you're thinking, that's a big Kandani's head. Well, I had to make an effort, didn't I? But anyway, so thank you very much. People have, some people are already turned off, which is good. That's fine. I've got your details. But I am going to start. So the Saki that I've chosen today is a Saki of Bhagat Namdev Ji. Now, this particular Saki, that's actually, it is recorded in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj on Angs, I believe 1165 to 1166. If you go to those Angs, you can actually read this Saki in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So the reference for this Saki is actually Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj's Bani itself. So it's of Bhagat Namdev Ji, and Bhagat Namdev Ji was born in Maharashtra state in India, and his birth was around 1270, those periods. And Bhagat Namdev Ji had darshan of Akal Purkh Vaheguru, had darshan of Paramatma many times. And this particular time that Bhagat Namdev Ji had darshan, this is recorded in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj's Bani, and Bhagat Namdev Ji, he writes himself. So, as I said again, Angs 1165 to 1166, if you go, you'll be able to read the Saki yourself. So it has translations in it, which are not full, but you get the gist of it. So I'm just going to go through the Saki at the moment. So Bhagat Namdev Ji and other Bhagats at the time, so we know Bhagat Kabir Ji and many other Bhagats, they were quite revolutionary. So they didn't accept the norm and the injustices that were going around, what they were expected to do and behave. Part of being certain castes, they were sort of expected to behave in a certain way. They challenged those norms and the society and the rules that were bound to bring about a change. And as we know now, as well, these times we're going through various changes as well. There's many protests that going around, happening around the world. We all know, and it's challenging those prejudices that have sort of rotted our society for so long. Now, those Bhagats were the same, and Bhagat Namdev Ji was loved by Hindus and Muslims alike. Now, those were like just ordinary people, not people of power, not people who were in charge, but armed people, hardworking people. And Bhagat Namdev Ji, spent his life in bhakti of a people who need a champion, people who need somebody to step up, and people who need someone to speak for their rights. And Bhakt Namdev and many other Bhakts. Now, because they were from lower castes, they had to endure certain prejudices. Now, Bhakt Namdev challenged those, and the people at the top didn't like it. So they thought of ways to Namdev. Now, before I get into the Sakhi, there's a prologue to this Sakhi. The reputation of Bhakt Namdev Ji. The reputation that Bhakt Namdev Ji had was that being a person of extreme sort of bhakti, somebody who was loved by all. He once sat and he was doing Simran near a crematorium. So he just sat there in his samadhi, and near a crematorium he was doing his bhakti. Rab da naam japde sige. And there's another Bhakt, Bhakt Jayadev Ji. He passed away. On the funeral pyre and basically burned to ashes as well. So this pratha, as he was going, Bhakt Jayadev Ji's wife, she all dressed up for this ritual that was to be performed. She was going with her husband's body, and then she sees Bhakt Namdev Ji sitting there doing Simran, and she knew of Bhakt Namdev Ji. She went and she touched Bhakt Namdev Ji's feet to get a blessing, so that she's going to be sati now, so that after this life she would get blessed, and she would find a good place. She would go to heaven. Now, she had that in mind. As she goes, she touches Bhakt Namdev Ji's feet, and Bhakt Namdev Ji is doing Simran at the moment, and he is in meditation. His eyes are closed. So when she touches Bhakt Namdev Ji's feet, his eyes open and he sees this woman, and she is dressed up like she's going to get married. Now, just by looking at her, the words the Bhakt Namdev Ji utter is Sohagavati Raho, so which means that may your husband live long. Now, Bhakt Namdev Ji says those bachan, those words, and Bhakt Jayadev Ji's wife now knows that he is a devotee of Vaheguru. Anything that he says will come true. So she says to Bhakt Namdev Ji that you have uttered those words that may my husband live long, but my husband has actually died. But you cannot now go on your word. You have to bring my husband back to life. Which is what Bhakt Namdev Ji then has to do, because jede bachan muh tak kehte, so whatever he's uttered, he's said, then he has to basically keep his word. So Bhakt Jayadev Ji was then brought back to life, and this sort of spread like fire, that Bhakt Namdev Ji has the ability to bring the dead back to life. So in this particular Sakhi that is recorded in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, the Qazis, the Musliman, they didn't like the fact that a lot of even Muslims and Hindus were going to Bhagat Namdev Ji, and especially after this, that they would just flock, and they thought that this was a challenge to Islam Dharm, and something has to be done about Bhagat Namdev Ji. So they are looking for an opportunity to get Bhagat Namdev Ji either converted to Islam Dharm, or they are looking for an opportunity to get Bhagat Namdev Ji killed. So, and this opportunity arises where the king, the emperor who was in charge of the place where Bhagat Namdev Ji was, a cow dies, and the Qazis are saying this is an opportunity. Now we know that Bhagat Namdev Ji has the ability to bring dead back to life. Now, if we tell Badshah, if we tell the king that this cow, he had many cows that obviously they used to farm cows. They said to the emperor, if you want this cow to come back to life, then call Bhagat Namdev Ji, and Bhagat Namdev Ji will be able to bring it back to life. And if he doesn't perform that miracle, then you give him the choice either to convert and become a Muslim, or he has to die. So they sent guards to go and arrest Bhagat Namdev Ji. And Bhagat Namdev Ji is then brought to the king's court. Now, I'm just going to read a little bit from the Gurbani, so you can actually, like I said, go and sort of read that yourself. So Bhagat Namdev Ji starts and he says, Sultan puche sunbe nama, dekho Ram tumhare kama. So he said that I have heard a lot about you, Namdev. So this is what the king says to Bhagat Namdev Ji. And he says that I would like to see the Ram that you worship. I would like to see the miracles performed, because I've heard that you bring the dead back to life. And then Nama Sultan ne Badla dekho tera har beetla. And he ties the Sultan, the king ties Namdev Ji up, and he's demanding that Bhagat Namdev Ji shows him a miracle. And then he says that Bismil Gau Deho Jivai Na Tar Gardan Maro Thai. He says, this cow, bring it back to life, otherwise Na Tar Gardan Maro Thai, otherwise your gardan will be taken off. So you will be beheaded if you don't bring the cow back to life. And then Bhagat Namdev Ji replies, and he says that Bad Sahab, aisi kyo hoye, Bismil kiya na jiva koe. That how can this happen? This cow that has been Bismil, meaning that he has been killed, how can a dead animal be brought back to life? Mera kiya kachu na hoye, kar hai Ram, hoye hai soye. That look, I cannot do anything. I have no power. Only Paramatma, only Ram can bring people back to life. Only Ram has the authority. I don't. And then Badsa Chadyo Ahankar, Gaj Hasti Dino Chamakar. So before Bhagat Namdev Ji is ordered to be killed, there is an elephant that has been bought to scare Bhagat Namdev Ji, so that it will be trampled to death. And the Badshah, the king, says to the person controlling the elephant, saying that charge Bhagat Namdev Ji and trample him to death. But every time the elephant goes to attack Bhagat Namdev Ji starts doing Simran of Bhagavan, of Ram. And every time he goes to strike Bhagat Namdev, he cannot do so. He moves back. Now, the king sees this and he thinks, maybe I have made a mistake, but he has everybody watching him, and he's thinking, I cannot seem to be weak, so I have to, sort of carry on with it. And he gives Bhagt Namdev Ji that he has 8 kadiyan to basically bring the dead cow back to life. You have 24 hours to do that. Now, Bhakt Namdev Ji sits there and he's doing bhajan, he's doing simran, and he's doing kirtan using the shackles. So Bhakt Namdev Ji is tied with chains, and he uses the chains and the shackles as shane, as musical instruments to do Bhakti of Akal Purkh. Now, as some time goes past, Bhakt Namdev Ji's mother finds out that they have arrested my son, and I should go and plead with the king to let him go. Now, she goes and she says to Bhakt Namdev Ji first, she says, just gonna read the pankti. She says, Rudan kare name ki maaye, chhod Ram ki na bhajhe khudaye. She said that was crying, why don't you leave the name of Ram, and why don't you utter the name Khudai? Meaning that why don't you convert? Why don't you change what you're saying? You yourself believe that Paramatma is one. Why don't you just start chanting Khuda instead of Ram? Now, to that, Bhakt Namdev Ji replies, he says, Na ho tera pungada, na tu meri maaye, pind padaye to har gun gaye. He says that if you are saying to me that I should leave the name of Ram, then I should leave my dharm, leave my faith, and basically turn my back on Ram, turn my back on my faith. Then he says, if you're saying that to me, na ho tera pungada, that I am not your son, na tu meri maya, and you cannot be my mother. Pind padaye to har gun gaye. That he's saying that even in this time, that I will remember Ram's name. I will only utter Ram's name. Even if this body was to drop on the ground without a head, I will still utter Ram's name. You cannot move me from it. So the mother tries, but Bhakt Namdev Ji's faith is still very strong. And then the local people, they also gather and they plead with the emperor, with the king as well. They say that we will give you the equivalent of Bhakt Namdev Ji's weight. We'll give you that much sona, that much gold if you let him go. So Badshah benti suno, name sar par sona leho, mal leo to dojak paro, deen chhod duniya ko paro. So the Badshah says that in Islam term, if we can convert somebody by bribing them, then that is a good karma for us. But if we then take money to let somebody go who could have become a Muslim, then mal leo to dojak paro, that will be sent to hell, will be sent to Nark. So I cannot do that. So Bhakt Namdev Ji's mother's pleading with the king, and also the locals have come and pleaded with Bhakt Namdev Ji, with the king, but the king is very adamant, saying no. Either he converts, or he brings the cow back to life, or he dies. Now, Bhakt Namdev Ji sitting there. Saat kadi jab biti suni, aj hona ayo tre pavan tani. So out of the 8 kadiyan, so almost 24 hours are almost up. So 7 kadiyan have gone. So there's only a few minutes that remain. And still, Paramatma hasn't come to rescue Bhakt Namdev Ji. But then what they would do after each kadi, they would then strike the gong to say that one kadi has gone. So when they struck the gong for the 8th kadi, at that point when it was said that Bhagat Nam Dev Ji's would head come off, that at that precise moment that Pakhantan Baj Bajaila Garad Chade Gobind Aila. At that point, at that precise moment, that riding on a Garad, so Garad is a panchi, a bird. Riding on this panchi, a bird, Gobind, Paramatma, Gopal came, and everybody saw this. So from the skies that they see, so you can read that in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, Pakhantan Baj Bajaila. So playing this is musical instrument, Garad Chade Gobind Aila. That riding on a Garad, this panchi, this bird, Gobind came to rescue Bhagat Nam Dev Ji. And he says, Apne Bhagat Par Ki Pratapal Garad Chade Aaye Gopal. To save his devotee, his Bhagat, that Gopal came to his rescue. Paramatma came to his devotee's rescue. And then this is what Gopal says. Kahe ta taran ekodi karo, kahe ta lekar upar taro. He says to Bhagat Nam Dev Ji that if you want, I will turn this land upside down. I will turn this Srishti upside down if you want. Kahe ta mui go deo ji aaye, sab koi dekhe pati aaye. If you want, I will bring this dead cow back to life. And then Nama Bhagat Nam Dev Ji says, Nama praname sel masel go duhai bachra mel. So basically, Bhagat Nam Dev Ji asks Gobind, Paramatma, to bring the cow back to life. Because Paramatma is saying, if you want, I will turn this dharti upside down and I will destroy all these tyrants here. But Bhagat Nam Dev Ji still has that mercy in his heart for them. It says that just bring the cow, the dead cow, back to life. And then the cow is brought back to life. And Nam Dev Ji then says, Nama praname sel masel go dohai bachra mel. That to then milk the cow, and then the milk is then to be offered to the Badshah, to the king. But Badshah at this point, now, he's full of homme, he's full of ahankar. Even after seeing that miracle before him, he still refuses to basically let Bhagat Namadev Ji go without becoming a Muslim before changing his dharma. So he's still very adamant. But he cannot do anything. So he, in his anger, then leaves that place and goes back to his palace. And as he goes back, he develops a sharp pain in his stomach. And then he realizes his mistake. He's thinking his ahankar, his homme now has been beaten. And he sends his people to go and plead with Bhagat Nam Dev Ji to say that, please forgive me. I have made a mistake and I'll try to do that to the Bhagat of Paramatma, and I've realized my mistake, and please forgive me. And Bhagat Nam Dev Ji, in his greatness, he forgives the king and those people who realize their mistake. And then Bhagat Nam Dev Ji explains in that shabad the greatness of Paramatma, that always Paramatma will come to the rescue of his Bhagats. Now, what do we actually learn from this Sakhi? Now, there's so many things you can take from it. So, first of all, that the faith that we should have, it should be so strong that even if we are faced with death, we should not waver from it. And before death, what comes is doubt. Doubt comes before death. And if we die in doubt, then we'll not be liberated. So if we have that prem with Akal Purkh Vaheguru, if we have that preet with our Guru, then that faith should remain till the last breath. Like Bhagt Namdev, he could have been rescued before the gong struck to say that the time is up. Paramatma could have come before, but Paramatma is testing Bhakt Namdev ji's his vishwas, his belief. And sometimes we go through the same tests in our life where things are going against us, people are going against us. But we sometimes think, maybe if I just bend the rules slightly, maybe if I just do what people are saying just slightly, bend the rules a little bit, then maybe I'll be okay, and I can always go back to my faith afterwards. But this is not how it works. What Bhakt Namdev ji is telling and showing us, that even in those extreme circumstances, we should hold on to our faith. And just like Bhakt Namdev ji, he was using his situation. Now, he was chained. He used those chains to turn them into musical instruments by hitting them together to create a beat so that he could do Paramatma's Simran. So any situation what we in, whatever is dished out to us, we should use that to remember Paramatma in any way, shape or form we can. And always doing Paramatma's Bhakti, Paramatma's Kirtan. Also, the other thing you can pick up from here, just like how Bhakt Namdev ji's mother came and she said, look, why don't you just say Khuda's name instead of Ram's name? Now sometimes we may have those challenges where our family is on one side and our guru is on the other side. Who do we choose? Where do we go? Now, we should always have that respect and satkar for our parents when it comes to it. We should never waver or have that anger towards them. But when it comes to deciding between your faith, your dharma, and the worldly things, maybe our rishtedar or our relatives, maybe our friends, or even our parents might be asking us to perform, then we should remember Bhakt Namdev ji's Sakhi, that even then at that point where his life was at stake, he did not leave his dharma, he did not leave his faith. He had that prosa. Prosa is everything. Now, we will be tested until the last breath. We will be tested time and time again. And it is for us to remain in Chardi Kala and have that prosa in Paramatma. Now, the other thing to learn from these Sakhis is that we're living in these times where people have very less faith in the ability of Paramatma, what Paramatma can do. We view Paramatma through the lens of science. We think that if it is possible through science, then we believe it. We always try and put our faith. We read Gurbani, we read Atihas, and we always try. Well, not all of us, but there are people who try to look at it through the lens of science and think, hang on, that's impossible, this can't happen. Because scientifically, it is not possible. Now, if we read this Sakhi, the reason why I've chosen this Sakhi, that it is actually from Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. It's not from any other Granth or anywhere else that you could say, oh, it was made up. You can read it yourself. That Paramatma came and it was seen by everybody, Paramatma coming flying on a bird, on a Garud. Now, if I just said this Sakhi without saying that it's from Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, a lot of people, or maybe some people would have said, oh, it's obviously made up. How can that be? Right? It is make believe. But Sahaj Sangat Ji, that's also a test of our faith, that Paramatma can do anything. We have such limited knowledge of our own surroundings, our own self, that we limit Paramatma's ability according to our own limitations. So Paramatma can do anything. And sometimes when we think that how are we going to get out of this situation, if you are unable to think about it, then don't think that Paramatma has not got a way. Paramatma has always got a way, and have that bharosa in Paramatma. So, anyway, I'm going to finish the story here, the Saki here, and I think my half an hour is up. Now, thank you very much for listening. It is a bit late here. It's past my bedtime, so I'm going to be going to sleep. Again, my apologies if you are expecting Bhai Sukha Singh. You've got Sukhi Singh instead, so karne te bihari da hi fark gaya. So, you're more or less the same. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. And this was my first live experience, so I don't know how it went. I saw a lot of people just switching off, which is something that I'm used to, which is okay. But anyway, so thank you very much, and I'm going to find the button that ends the live feed. If I can't, then